The 4th episode of Loki released yesterday, and after doing a breakdown of the episode, it got me thinking even more about who the real TVA villain of the show could be. There's many theories going around suggesting that it could be Kang the Conqueror, Ravonna Renslayer, or even a Loki variant. I'm going to be breaking down all of these theories and giving you my thoughts on which one could be the right prediction. This video will contain spoilers from Loki so far, so if you do happen to be someone who isn't up to date on the series, then I would recommend watching this video after you've caught up. But if you want to watch more videos on all of the Disney Plus Marvel shows coming out in the near future and the upcoming MCU movies, then don't forget to support this video by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. Also, feel free to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram at Cortex Videos, which is all linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's dive into the biggest theories surrounding who could be the secret Loki villain. So Loki made it clear from the start that something was definitely up with the Timekeepers. They literally loomed over all members of the Time Variance Authority, symbolically hovering above every variant and judgment. This hunch was confirmed in episode 4, where it was revealed the Timekeepers do in fact exist. They're just animatronic robots that wouldn't be out of place at an intergalactic location that this show is mostly situated around, and while that reveal answered whether the Timekeepers were really in charge, and that answer is definitely no, it's still worth investigating who could be overseeing the TVA and turn out to be the main villain of the show. But Loki episode 4 has already revealed one of the show's secret villains, and it's none other than TVA judge Ravonna Renslayer. Revonna has been something of a mystery since the MCU series began, but her closeness with the Timekeepers and her significant power within the TVA have certainly been suspicious. For those familiar with Ravonna's history in Marvel Comics, her villainous turn in Loki may not have come as too much of a surprise. In the first episode of Loki, the TVA and the Timekeepers were set up as the guardians of the sacred timeline, whose work was credited with keeping the universe in balance. As the show has continued, that story has unraveled, leading to Sylvie's reveal in episode 3 that the TVA agents are all actually brainwashed variants. That secret starts to get out in Loki episode 4, leading to a confrontation with the Timekeepers themselves. However, the all-powerful beings ended up being nothing more than robotic puppets, suggesting that Ravonna has been pulling the strings all along. But there are still a lot of details about Ravonna Renslayer and the TVA that have yet to be revealed. Who created the organisation and why? How long has it actually been running? And where are the headquarters we've seen so little of? Well, the answers to these questions are unclear, but one thing for certain is that Renslayer has known far more than anyone else the whole time, and her motivations seem less than righteous. There's a lot from Ravonna Renslayer's comic storyline that can also reveal details about her role in Loki and what the MCU series could be setting up with her villainous twist. The comics version of Ravonna Renslayer is very different from her counterpart in Loki, but a look at the character's history can help shed some light on her potential future in the MCU. Ravonna Renslayer was first introduced by Marvel in the 60s as a princess on 40th century Earth. Ravonna was an aggressive and driven woman who quickly earned the attention of time-travelling warlord Kang the Conqueror when he came to take over the Corellius Kingdom. Kang and Ravonna embarked on a complicated love affair that ultimately ended with her death and eventual resurrection. Renslayer's comic stories are all tied to Kang, and she has at different times been his lover, his ally, and his sworn enemy after he chose revenge on the Avengers over bringing her back to life. Over the years, Kang and Renslayer have fought and made up numerous times, a plot device helped by their shared ability to traverse the timeline. And while Revonna has not always been a clear-cut villain, her stories mostly revolve around her striving for power and revenge. In the Loki series, rather than a 40th century princess, Revonna is introduced as a judge and high-ranking official of the TVA. She's one of the only people to have actually met the Timekeepers, but that initially seemed to be because of her high station. Now, after the events of episode 4, it appears that Renslayer's true nature and motivations are much more sinister. Episode 4 revealed a number of big details about the character, and to start, she seems to know the TVA agents are all captured and brainwashed variants. When Mobius and Hunter B-15 both bring up the subject, Renslayer's calculated response indicates she's known all along. She also seems to have known that the Timekeepers were fake, as she is completely unfazed when Sylvie decapitates one and reveals its mechanical appearance. That means one of two things: either Renslayer is the mastermind of the entire TVA, or she's working for some unseen greater force that's been pulling the strings through her. I think this particular show will focus on making her the main villain, but I also think that a larger threat is working alongside her to change the course of time, and this will likely be revealed too. I also think that this could be the setup for the main villain of the MCU going forward, so the question is, who could it likely be? Well, with 2 episodes left, Loki has many interesting possibilities, but by the end of the series, I think the events that take place will ultimately lead to the restoring of the multiverse. The upcoming MCU film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, is written by Michael Waldron, who also created Loki, so it would make sense for the current show to restore the multiverse and thereby lead into the plot of Doctor Strange 2. But getting to who could be at the forefront of all of this timeline control at the TVA, many fans may have already worked out the true villain. Renslayer's villain turn could be part of the setup for none other than Kang the Conqueror to join the MCU. It hasn't been revealed yet if she's the mastermind or if she's working for someone else, but there's a high possibility that Kang is somehow involved and maybe using the TVA and its agents to dictate his sacred timeline. The villain isn't supposed to enter the franchise until Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but an early appearance in Loki wouldn't be out of character for the MCU. Imprisoning the entire multiverse into a single controlled timeline seems like exactly the kind of plan a time-travelling ruler would be behind, and it's entirely plausible that Kang is the one responsible for the creation of the TVA. Whether or not Kang is involved, Renslayer's evil twist opens up a ton of possibilities for the rest of the show and the MCU at large. An organisation as powerful as the TVA makes for a great villain, and it should be interesting to see if they survive through the end of Loki. Again, given the impending release of Doctor Strange 2, it seems more likely that Loki and Sylvie will successfully free the timeline by the end of the show, but to get that done in the next 2 episodes, they'll likely have to face off against Renslayer once again. And at this point, she may reveal the true secrets and even Kang himself. And don't forget that a recent leaked video for Loki showed a car driving up towards a Sphinx, which heavily relates to the story of Kang. There have been many iterations of the character, but the first was Ramatut, a pharaoh persona that Nathaniel Richards created after travelling back to the ancient Egypt from the 31st century. In that timeline, he also takes on a sort of archaeologist persona, which could explain the sci-fi shovel they found in the show earlier on. But whatever its connection to Kang, his character very much links into what we're seeing in this leaked video from episode 5 or 6. Another popular fan theory that connects to Kang is that the entire TVA could be held within the quantum realm because, after all, time works differently at the location. It's well known that Jonathan Myers will be playing Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and if the TVA is in a realm set to be explored in that film, it makes sense that the two would share a villain. What's more, in the comics, Kang has a reunion with his variants from different parts of Marvel's multiverse, and together they create the Council of Kangs, not unlike what Loki finds himself facing at the end of episode 4. Kang is a perfect villain for Loki, who is not only big enough to explain the absent Timekeepers, but is so powerful that it will take more than just the final 2 episodes of Loki to deal with the character. There are other theories floating around the internet too, like a Loki variance being the real villain, and Miss Minutes having something to do with the Control, but even though I really like some of these theories, I don't think they'll go in that direction. A Loki variance being the villain is probably the only one I think could work, because it would be a strong outcome to all of the interrogation of Loki's character that we've seen throughout the show. But when it comes to setting up a villain that links into what the MCU is going to explore over the next couple of years, then Kang just seems like a much better link. Not to mention all of the connections I've discussed. I think in episode 5 we're going to see Revonna be forced to tell Sylvie what is really going on, and this will result in her revealing that the sacred timeline is not how things have always been. This would potentially lead into the reveal that someone is orchestrating everything to control time, and Renslayer is helping them do that. We'll also see where Loki is after he encountered 4 Loki variants in the post-credit scene, and maybe they might also share some reveals on what's been going on. I think they are in a limbo version of New York with all of the other variants who were previously pruned, but there's not too much to go on as of yet. I'm sure we'll encounter loads of different Lokis, like President Loki, but we'll have to wait and see what they do and how they will go about introducing this real villain, especially when there's only 2 episodes left. But they were some of the most popular theories on the real Loki villain, alongside my thoughts on who it could actually be. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown, and overall, I'm intrigued to see what happens next week in the new Marvel show, which I will be covering here on the channel. I'm also intrigued to hear all of your thoughts on episode 4 and who you think the real villain is, so let me know down below in the comment section, as well as listing your predictions for episode 5. For more content on shows like Loki, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. I am covering and bringing constant updates on all the new Marvel content, so make sure to keep a lookout for whenever I post. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.